Alright, so in this video, I'm going to show you how to paint this nice like ocean sunset with some like ornamental grasses. So for this video, you are going to need the big red brush, yellow brush, and this blue brush. Then for our colors, you'll just need a light blue, a white, yellow, some orange. Then for the ocean, we need just a regular blue. We'll use our light blue in our ocean, and we'll use that white again. And then we will just need black. So just 5 colors, no, 6 colors: yellow, orange, light blue, blue, white, and black. So to begin with, I was looking at paintings to do, and I found this one that I really like. So I'm going to try and show you something similar to this. So this is my picture that I'm going to kind of base it off of, but I'm just going to show you something kind of similar and easier. Oops, I have to get back. Okay, so we're going to start off with our blue. And I'm going to be using a red brush because I'm doing the background and I need like a bigger brush to do it. So I'm going to take my blue and we're going to draw a line across the paper, kind of in almost the middle, a little bit higher. This is called our horizon line, or where the sky meets the earth. And so our sky is going to meet our blue ocean or water, I don't know. Okay, so now from below, I'm going to be painting this all blue. When I'm painting, I'm always going from side to side, because with landscapes or water, you always see it from side to side. It will look better if you go always from side to side. Make sure you get to your edges of your paper so there's no white showing. So I'm going to quickly paint the rest of this. Okay, so already going from side to side, I can start to see that it kind of almost looks like waves, just because some parts are darker and some parts are lighter. So now I'm going to go in with a lighter blue. So I washed off my brush quick and I'm drying it. And this blue right here is still wet, so it's going to start to blend kind of together. So I'm going to go in with a pretty lighter blue. And we're going to dip it in. We don't need a ton of paint. And we're going to go side to side, kind of like making streaks. So I'm going to just do quite a few down. And I'm going to add a sun right here. That's why I'm only doing it kind of right here. So it doesn't, I'm focusing kind of just in one spot right here. So I'm doing side to sides, getting rid of just all the paint that's on my brush. And then now I'm going to blend it out more. So I'm going to just go over where I already painted and just keep going side to side, back and forth, so it looks well blended in. So you can't tell that it's just huge streaks of light blue. Okay, so it's a little bit lighter there. It looks kind of nice. Now with the same light blue, I'm gonna just do some blue on top for my sky. So still going side to side. Just a little bit of blue on the top. And then it doesn't have to be a perfect line. You can always go have one side come a little bit down more. Or you can add a little stripe here or there. That's totally fine. Okay, so now I'm going to wash off my brush and get white next. Alright, so with the white, I'm going to paint right below the blue, and I'm going to overlap them. So I'm going to paint over top of the blue a little bit. So here I'm painting over top of the blue because I'm going to try and blend the white to the blue, so it makes like a light, even a lighter blue. So painting over top. And then just moving this white down a little bit. So now I'm going to paint like a little section of white, and you obviously can't see it that well because it's white on white paper. But we're going to move kind of quick because this white is still wet. So now I'm going to quickly wash up my brush and go in with a yellow. And then I'll add a little bit of orange. So I'm moving quickly here. So with my yellow, I want it to blend in a little bit with the white. So I'm going to paint yellow below. Being very careful with this dark blue. And I don't want to overlap it on this dark blue. Okay, now with the yellow, I'm going to go in with, try and blend it in with the white. So I'm painting kind of over top the white a little bit. Okay, so it's kind of blending there. If I want, I can get my paintbrush wet and go over the white a little bit more with my yellow. And then if you decide you want more white in it, just wash off your paintbrush and get some white. All right, then I'm going to add a little bit of orange on just the side. So hopefully my yellow is still wet. I'm going to wash off my brush and I'm going to dry it. So now I'm going to get my orange and just paint a little bit on this side. All right, and then I have barely any paint on my brush, but to blend this a little bit more, I'm going to get my paintbrush wet. And then we're going to go over this orange one more time, just trying to blend it in with this yellow. All right, and then I think it's getting a little too much, so I'm going to fully wash out my brush and then blend this with kind of a wet brush just to make it so it's a nice orange to yellow, which that looks way better. So if it's not blending, try and get your brush wet or wash out your brush and go back in with kind of a damp brush and just go over it back and forth. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is add some white. Okay, so with my white, I'm going to be adding the sun and then also reflections in the water. So I'm going to use a smaller brush. I'm using the yellow brush, or I could use a blue brush. Either one would be great. So with my yellow brush, I'm going to do a little half circle in the sky, making sure I don't get the sun on the blue part, the water, because our sun is in the sky, not on Earth. Okay, so here I'm just drawing a straight line by the water, and then I'm going to just kind of draw a half circle. All right, and it's kind of hard to see this white, so I'm going to just kind of go over it a couple times. It'll probably blend in with the yellow and make it like a light, very light yellow. Okay, so there is my sun. And try and make it look more circular. Okay, then in the water is where we're going to add our highlight. So if you ended up getting a little bit on the blue, I kind of did, I'm going to add a little line, and that's going to be our highlight. So now we have our lighter blues, but we're just adding a little bit of white just to make it even brighter. So I'm adding little streaks of my white. I'm not getting more paint on my brush. I'm using just whatever paint's on there. And I'm still trying to stay in that same like little direction. So little streaks, and these are our highlights, and it kind of gives it more, looks like there's waves in our water. Okay, and then if you ever don't like one of your like highlights, like I kind of went a little too crazy right here, I don't really like that. I'm gonna just wash off my brush, and then my brush is still wet, and I'm just gonna rub over this white and I'll erase. it'll just blend into the blue. So if you ever don't like something, or if it's really just harsh lines, just use a wet paintbrush and paint over top of this, just to smooth it out a little bit more. I think it looks so nice. Okay, so here I just went in with my wet paintbrush, smoothed out these lines a little bit more so they're nice and smooth and they don't look so harsh or like chunky. Okay, so I'm gonna let this dry, and then I am gonna go in with black to add that land and the little grasses. Okay, I'm really loving this just how it is, but this side kind of looks a little empty. So with our black, we're first gonna add some land for our grass to sit on. So I'm gonna use the bigger brush just because it's gonna be faster, so big red. And I'm gonna do kind of an angle of a land. So it's gonna be just in this corner. So I didn't realize I got black there. And then we're gonna fill it in. Okay, then with my red brush still, I'm gonna add some grass to this land. So it's not gonna be a nice smooth. I'm gonna just take the brush with not a lot of paint and tiny flick it up. If you have a lot of paint, it's gonna look more like globs. But if you don't have a lot of paint on your brush, it'll kind of look like little bits of grass. Okay, so nothing too extreme. I'll zoom in. Just a little bit of texture there. Okay, now we're gonna go in with our long grass. So I'm gonna wash this out and grab the blue brush. So blue brush, and I'm gonna grab my black. And I'm just gonna start off by making our first, like the biggest grass that we're gonna do. So I'm gonna just draw a line. So whenever it starts to like give out and there's not a lot of paint, I'm just gonna grab more paint, carefully try and go back over that same line. I'm gonna kind of make it waving, so it's not a perfect line here. Okay, so that's gonna be our longest piece of grass. And then to add our little like flower or ornamental grass, I'm gonna go from this line here and then just kick out. So I'm like painting out. So if you zoom in, you can kind of, where my paint, there's not as much paint, that helps it look like, you know, grass and makes it look really nice. So just little lines, however much you want. Okay, then I'm going to add some little extra on the bottoms. And then this looks a little thicker than what we have at the bottom, and usually it's like plants or trees, it's always thicker at the bottom. So I'm going to make this a little bit thicker just so it matches this middle part. Otherwise it'll look kind of weird. Okay, so I'm going to add some more grass and some more like little, I don't know, like strings of grass. I don't know what to call that. But they'll just be little lines up like this. And then we're going to add that little ornamental top. So the little extra grass on the top. Always just kind of kicking out just a little bit. And then we're going to add just some extra little leaves coming off, or strings of grass, and make it a little bit bigger on the bottom. Then, since we got these, I'm going to add just some shorter pieces of grass, maybe that aren't so grown yet. So we're going to just do little lines down here. And I'm always trying to get smaller at the top. So little bits of grass that haven't grown all the way to a full full big long piece. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit over here, or down here, let's see. I'll add just a tiny, small one. See how I did that there, where I got bigger on the bottom, small on top? That's perfect. Then we're gonna add just this tiny bit of the tops like this. So I'm just tinily, carefully adding little bits. Let's zoom in there. So I'm just carefully adding a little bit. So I'm going to do one more just to show you again. So I'm going to do a line, getting a little bit smaller at the top, and then tiny little bits of grass. And then we're going to add our extras where maybe they didn't grow yet. Add little. Okay, so you can kind of look at your piece and decide if you need more. I kind of want more over here. So I'm going to add like it's coming off the paper. And then I'm going to add just a little extras. So this would be like if it was curving right here or it was more further. So I'm always kind of making like adding or making these Y shapes, and if I ever want, I'll add these little tufts of grass. Okay, I think I have it the way that I like and it looks good. You can decide how you would like it. But I'm gonna just call that good, and then I'm gonna take off the tape and be done with this. Okay, so there's my finished piece.